It's a sold out show week, and you know what that means. Ignite Wrestling is back this coming Sunday for the last stand. And did I mention it was sold out? No? Well, it is. It's a tough. No, there is going to be limited tickets available on the door. But to break down everything, the last stand, and some news that happened at the last show, the one, the only general manager of Ignite, Mr. CJ Carter, joins me. CJ, welcome again to the show.
Hello, Adam, and hello to everyone listening, to all the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast fans and listeners out there. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. CJ has now got my idea. The background is up. It is the right way around. What I do like, to be fair, is you've half cut the champion, my champion, off of it. So I'm kind of glad that's the case, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, probably should have just cut him out altogether, to be honest, but uh, I didn't do the cropping. That was very much the app. So, he
But
obviously didn't like Drew that much.
no, but you also know, Mark will take that personally.
Takes everything personally, doesn't he?
He does. He does. I'm surprised he's even turning up this week, but he is. He is.
Well, it's not. Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see if he makes it there on Sunday. But we got Thursday. We got four, however many days we got, a number of days until Sunday. Still enough days for him to not be there. Jet setting off to Spain the day before as well. So
Yes, he certainly is. As is a few other members of the group behind you, or at least one other member that's behind you, and another one that we'll talk about. But before we get to the matches, there was some news coming out of the last show. One big return, a surprising return that blew the roof off the building way back in February. Now it was cold on those days. It's going to be very warm this coming Sunday at the Shenley Road. Corey McRae did return to Ignite at the expense, fantastically, of Truman Roswell. For those of you that don't know, Truman invited, he demanded you get into the ring, CJ. I thought we were going to get a CJ Carter return, but instead you turned the tables on the conspiracy theorist and you brought back Corey McRae. So, two questions on that. How did that all happen with Corey? And two, have you heard from the conspiracy theorist since?
yeah. Other than his little dig at me on Twitter, on X, Twitter, a few weeks ago, I haven't heard anything from Truman Roswell. I hope it's the last we see and hear of him. To be honest, he's not booked on this show. I'd like to never see or hear from him ever again. I'm quite, I'll probably just block him on social media, and that'll probably be the end of that one. So, Corey cleaned up that mess for me, which was nice. I've been speaking to Corey since last July. Obviously,
Mm.
he wrestled Luke Jacobs at Buckle Up last year, and said that if he didn't win, he was going to step away. He needed some time away from Ignite, and he's done a bit of they're thinking, a bit soul searching. I think, trying to work out where he sees himself. I think in wrestling in general, and where he sees himself at Ignite Wrestling Pro, based on the fact he was our longest reigning ever champion, and then couldn't quite seem to climb back up there for whatever reason, and that laid some seeds of doubt in his mind, and knocked his confidence a bit, I think. But I've been, we've been in contact on and off ever since, and the door, like I said, the door's always open. The door's always open. We want you back whenever you're ready to come back. And he said he was ready, and I said I had the perfect opportunity for you, my friend. So it just, all came together, crossed paths perfectly. I'd love to get in the ring again, especially in front of my hometown crowd. I'd love to, see off Truman myself personally, but I'm just not, like I said on the show. People can talk about things being scripted and predetermined and everything. That was just me talking from the heart. That was legitimate. I'm not ready to get in the ring yet and risk, going back to where I was, 3 years ago with 2020. Yeah, three summers ago. And I'm not saying, I'm not going to risk that for Truman. So, and plus, actually, I think, to be honest, Corey coming back was better. That was a better moment, a bit of surprise. The crowd went nuts. They're happy to see him back, and he's a much loved and respected man. So it'd be great to have him back on Sunday.
It will be. It will indeed be. I've just seen it. You posted the video on X of the highlights of the last show, and somebody underneath there has said, "Please book King Ricochet."
I mean, I'll just call him. We'll just get on the blower to Ricochet. I'm sure he's within our budget. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's totally fine.
Yeah,
He'll,
yeah.
you know,
Don't put it on my list. Don't put it on
I mean,
my
I'd like,
receipt.
yeah, yeah, about we need someone later on in the year. We could bring someone in. I'll leave that one with you, my friend.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
reach
yeah.
out. You know, no, you're the one talking to all the famous people. You're the one who talking to all the talent around the world. So, you reach out.
Yeah, I've got Tony Khan on speed dial. I'm sure we can set it up. We can have King Ricochet and maybe bring Samantha with him to, give Skip a run for his money. Who knows? Um, but look, let's talk Showtime. Let's talk Last Stand. Let me select a match. Yeah, we'll go with this one first. Right. Okay. So Breakout back. It come back in February. Kian Cameron picked up the victory in his triple threat match, much to the chagrin of one Arthur Scurro, who decided at the end of that match to wallop him again with what I call the end of days from Baron Corbin's old finisher. So Kian's through to the finals. I'm assuming November. I don't
Yeah, it's
quote.
looking that way. Unless anything dramatically changes, November will be the final of the breakout division, as it previously was for 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So, which brings me, you can't see the other one, to the next one. Now, full disclosure, the man in the middle has been added. So what we do want to wish is Bart O'Connor a very speedy recovery from her horrific injury. He does need to have his spleen removed, which is going to put him out of action for a very long time. But obviously, CJ, look, doors always open for Bart to come
Yeah.
in next time.
100%, 100%. I said this to him, he contacted me before he knew exactly what was going on. So, all he knew at that time was that he wouldn't be able to make this show. We didn't know how serious it was. And I said to him then, look, the door's always open, whether that's in July or later on in the year or next year or whatever. The door is, there's a reason that I put these people
Mm.
in the breakout division from February and this one and all the shows going forward is because they're people that I rate very highly. They're people that I want to give a platform to, and they're people I want on the shows at Ignite. So that doesn't change just because of what he's going through. So yeah, obviously my thoughts are with him, same as what you've said, and I hope he gets what needs to be done, and that he heals up well, and hopefully we see him back. But also at the end of the day, there is, I'm just gonna say that there is more to life than wrestling, as much as we love it. And if that is 2 years off, 3 years off, or if that doesn't happen for him, then that's also totally fine. But hopefully we see him back. That's obviously what we all want, and the door's 100% open for Bart. Bart the Dart.
Indeed, I wanted to hear the theme song of the darts at the show, but we won't on this occasion. Anyway, but as we always say, when an opportunity, unfortunately, it has to go for someone, another opportunity or another door opens, and the man behind me, that I can't really see it because there's a sofa also behind me. Tyler Walker is now going to get an opportunity alongside Callum Beck, who's someone that's impressed me. Saw Tyler quite recently at Rumble Wrestling. Now, I was asked to describe him, and the only way I could, from my personal time that I saw him, was a heel version of Smashing Mike, if that's possible. I don't know.
Charismatic, lots of character.
He
Yeah.
very much is.
And
Yeah.
trained by Greg Burridge, who trained me. So
Yeah.
that counts for a lot in my book. Greg's someone I respect a lot. Um, yeah, he helped me out loads, and obviously trained Will Ospreay, Callum Newman. So yeah, he has trained some of the world's best wrestlers, and I'm sure Tyler will be following along in that path as well. So looking forward to him coming in. And he was someone who I wanted in this year, regardless. It wasn't obviously planned for this match, but
Yeah.
he was going to be coming in probably in July, to be honest. But we've moved that forward. Like you said, one door closes, unfortunately, for Bart, and another one is open for Tyler to slot in alongside Callum Beck with another debut in this one. And like you said, I've seen him work for WrestleForce a lot,
Yeah.
and someone I've had my eye on for about 12 months now. Him and Kian were tagging there, and had my eye on them both. So that's why Kian was in, and obviously we got Callum in on this one, and Tom Mercer, who has been around now for what, about how long has he been? Over a year, maybe 18 months. When did he come in? Was it the? I feel like it was the first show of last year.
Either the
He,
first or second.
yeah, yeah, and obviously he's part of the whole Taylor James Jack Torino story, which we'll get to later.
Mm.
But his in-ring debut was at the last show, and my goodness, I was blown away, absolutely blown away. Um, Obviously came in with Taylor,
Yeah.
wasn't someone I was as familiar with, if I'm honest. Showed up out of the blue, rocked up on our shows, started coming out with Taylor. Hadn't seen an awful lot of his work, if I'm completely honest. Was absolutely blown away by what he can do in the ring. You know, you can say what you like about him as a person and what he's been doing with Taylor, but there is no denying the talent this man has. And, you know, the ceiling is as high as it, you know, it's ridiculous. You know, there is no limits to what this man could potentially do at Ignite now he's in the ring, I think.
I'm kind of glad you said there's no limits to the ceiling because he's not exactly a small guy.
No, exactly. No.
And
Um,
yeah, he was very impressive though in February. There's no doubt about that. I would say deceiving as well.
oh,
In
yeah, he can move.
yeah,
Yeah.
for a big man, he can move, which should make this match very, very well, very intriguing to see who joins Kian in November. I just want to go back to Mark a minute because I mentioned that you half cut him out of the screen there. You posted the video of a reel onto Instagram, perhaps, of the highlights of the show. Um,
Well,
and
February show, yeah.
yeah. Once again,
He's not in it.
I'm not tagged. I'm nowhere to be seen. Oh no, sorry. He says once again, if I'm nowhere to be seen, why am I tagged?
Well, because you should have been there, my friend, shouldn't you?
Yeah, he
You should
says,
have been.
of course, Ignite want to mess around again. You wait and see on Sunday. Is the
Well, we'll see, won't we?
uh,
You know, I don't really get what his problem is. We've, we've given him nothing but top talent since he's been the champion. Um, and he refused to turn up to the last show. Kind of wish we just stripped him of the title, to be honest. When he launched it at you in November, I should have just held on to that title there and then. I don't think you should have given it back to him. But yeah, let's hope he turns up on Sunday so that you know Luna can whip his ass from pillar to post.
well, now's a good
And
time now to move it to this.
there we go. Yeah. Look,
We might as well talk about it now. Get the elephant, shall we say, out of the room. Yes. So Mark didn't show up in February. He doesn't like the. He decided to go to Japan, and I must say, him and Kieran Lacey did do very very well
yeah,
over there.
yeah, respect him.
Finalists.
Respect
Yeah.
him for that. And like the talent, we've never the talent is there with them both, especially with True. It's never denied the talent. But yeah,
No.
God, I'm sorry.
No, he's never denied the talent. They said they were finalists. They had, I think he had an unfortunate injury during the final of that particular match in there. But nevertheless, we had to do something for the championship, so we decided to crown a new number one contender in quite possibly. I was going to say one of the best triple threat matches I've ever seen, and then we've announced another one which we'll get to in a minute,
Yeah.
which may top it. But Aluna come out victorious in against Shane Hook and Harrison Bennett in the last show. And Aluna's been somebody, she's had a few number one contenderships. She's not quite got there in those particular matches, but she's been knocking and knocking and knocking, and the crowd love her. She now has an opportunity to win gold at Ignite. And to be quite honest, I am praying to every god possible that she does it this Sunday.
Yeah, and I mean, look, what a moment it would be. Look, like I said, there's no denying True's ability. He's champion for a reason. He got through those two matches last year that he's been moaning about for a reason. He traveled to Japan with Kira Lacey, as you've mentioned, and got all the way through to the finals of that tournament. He's one of the best on the planet, not just in this country. But it doesn't excuse, you know, I'm not going to part with the shit that he's been throwing our way. And I do, as you've said, just then hope that, Aluna gets her moment in this one, because she's been building to this for months, if not years at this point. She is, if not the most loved, then certainly up there alongside the others. Smashing Mike, Tommy Kyle come to mind, but she is, if not 1A, then 1B in terms of the most loved by the Ignite fans. And they have been waiting. But, as much as I'm sure Luna wants this and we would love to see it, I think the fans want it more. They're desperate to see her have her moment in the middle of an Ignite ring. And, she deserves it. What a run she's been on, beating people like Sapphire, Nightshade, even going back a bit further, she beat Nina Samuels. She had, as you mentioned, the number one contenders match last year for the Ignite Championship, which Tommy ended up winning. But what a triple threat that was as well. So she's had two incredible triple threat matches in the last 14 months. And here she's ready now. I think she's ready. Perhaps maybe she wasn't quite ready at the start of last year, but having gone through everything she did last year with the battles with Sapphire, and beating all the names that I've just mentioned to get to this point, she's ready. She's totally ready for this. And yeah, what a moment it would be in 96 Shenley Road if she can defeat Mark True and take that gold, back home to Ignite where it belongs, instead of flying around the world and disappearing to Japan instead of being defended at our shows. So yeah,
I want to say I think that something that Aluna, without disrespecting her, maybe lacked was that killer instinct that you kind of need sometimes. And I think that those matches with Sapphire Reed maybe, no pun intended, ignited that killer instinct, because she needed it to put away Sapphire. She needed the wherewithal to put away Nina Samuels, and perhaps that something's lacking is now there with her, because we certainly saw the hard hitting side of her against Harrison Bennett and Shane Hook as well at the last show. So perhaps her having now that sort of killer instinct may well get her over the line on Sunday.
Yeah, let's hope so. But it'll be a hell of a match either way, whatever happens. What happens? If True wins, God knows, will he be in July with that title? We just don't know. So, but what a match it will be. And yeah, I think we're rooting along with the fans for Aluna in this one.
We are. Sorry, Mark, but we are. We have to. Sorry,
Mark.
Well, there we go. But from there, we move to a kind of match which is now simmering. It could be classed as a grudge match.
Yes.
Yeah, Smashing Mike and Mr. Happy on the other side. And now, what we will say is what the picture of Mr. Aries there will not be what you're getting this coming Sunday. He's had Stevie Wonder have the shears. And,
yeah.
Has his little haircut, which says, to be fair, he looks younger with it. I will say that. But
it'll do that, cutting your hair. He's followed in my suit. I think I dropped about 15 years when I cut all my hair off.
You did, to be fair. He does look younger, to be honest. He may be getting ID'd when he comes in on Sunday. I don't know. But look, fresh face, fresh cut, still the same miserable attitude of Chris Aries and Smashing Mike. And to be fair, and this, I didn't want to disrespect either of these two. These surprised me in the last show in February. I was expecting a fun match. We got a hell of a sprint from these two at the last show. Some people's even match of the night, which is mad considering
a lot of people's match of the night. Yeah, considering the triple threat that went on, and obviously the Tate and Tommy main event as well. But yeah, I think they surprised a lot of people. Sorry to cut you off, Adam. Carry on. Sorry.
No. And I'm just basically saying is the match was not without shenanigans, though, which kind of made you decide, well, we need to go again. Listen, I'm all for these two. These two can fight forever, as the old saying goes. I'm happy to see these two get in there. But two, again, when we said this last time, we'll say it again, they'll have championships in their mind in this one again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what it was all about in the last show. Obviously, two former champions here. Chris Aries is the former Ignite champion, having dropped that to Tommy Kyle. And the former Hidden and Turnbuckle champion, your champion, Smashing Mike, the inaugural Hidden and Turnbuckle champion. And, he held that belt with pride and had some incredible matches with it against some of the biggest names in the country. and he wants, I'm sure, wants some gold back around his waist, as does Chris, and that's what kind of that last match was about. And it ended in, you know, like you said, in not the best fashion, shall we say, with a low blow that wasn't picked up by the ref from Chris, which I don't think Mike was too happy about, having felt like he probably had the match potentially won by at that point. And look, it was just, aside from what went on in the finish there, it was just an incredible match. I think there wouldn't be a match put on an Ignite card that I didn't think would be a great match, because it just wouldn't happen. I just wouldn't book that. And people, there's not going to be people on shows who aren't the best in the country, but it surprised myself. I'm sure it surprised you. It surprised a lot of people with just how good it was. Obviously, what it was going up against with some of the other matches on the card. You think, okay, yeah, maybe it will be a great match, but will it be match of the night? I'm not sure. And then, as you said, so many people were saying, that was match of the night. That was match of the night. Oh my God, that's one of my favorite Ignite matches. So wow, yeah, no, the chemistry they had was incredible in there. And a lot of people saying they want to see a rematch, they want to see a trilogy, they want them to best of 7 series or something. That's how well this match went down. So having spoken about how the finish went and having seen how much people love this one, let's do it again. Let's get a clean finish in this one. Let's see who comes out on top and who can go on to potentially getting some gold back around their waist.
Yeah, it will be a very interesting, indeed, this one. And again, I mean, now the expectation but that's the thing. Maybe the expectation was too low considering the card after their match. Now the expectation levels for this is now up here, and they've now got to hit that expectation as well now.
Yeah, I mean, but also just look at the matches that are on this card as well. It's just this, yeah. I mean, we'll get into some of the other ones, but it's stacked. It's stacked from top to bottom. Every match on this card could be a main event. So yeah,
good luck to them both.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it certainly could be. Which brings me nicely to this. You can't see the man behind me, but my God,
just the gun fingers above your head. Yeah.
Yeah. That gun finger's above my head. Move it. There he is.
There you go. Oh, look, there he is.
It's Mr. Lando. When you said about this, because you said you had an inkling of a match that you wanted to put on, I to be quite honest, we're talking about matches that can grace Brit Rest anywhere. You look at these 3 guys behind me, and unfortunately, one of them is Kieran Lacey. But regardless of that, Corey McRae is an untapped for whatever reason. I don't know why bigger promotions haven't looked at it. It's great for us at Ignite that they haven't, but why bigger promotions haven't looked at Corey is beyond me. Lando, we know, is in a different country every day of the week at the minute. And for those of you that watch his blogs on TikTok, well, no, I think now wrestling is his job. Now he quit his job as a teacher, I think he was, now a full-time wrestler. So he's traveling here, there, and everywhere that you can see him on shows. And as we've already mentioned, Lacey's the other half of True and Lacey, who has been killing it in Japan. You put these 3 in a mix together, it's going to create magic. I think personally, Corey's going to go into this thinking, I want to show Joe and Kieran that how good that he really is, maybe having to reintroduce himself. But I also think, and this may be detrimental to Ignite, but I also think he's going to go into this match thinking, I want to show these other top promotions that I can whoop these 2. One of the top talents in other promotions is arse. So you need to put your eyes back on Corey McRae.
Yeah, and look, you kind of nailed it. You've got 2 people in Lacey and Joe who are traveling the world currently, have both been out in Japan. Joe is constantly out over in the States and is tearing it up there and across all of Europe as well with his CPF tag partners. And look, I've been a big fan of Joe's for years now. Corey and Joe opened the first Ignite show back in 2021, and Joe was someone who had my eyes on for a long time before that. Obviously, COVID kind of slowed things down for 18 months to 2 years, so it took, I didn't manage to get him in as early as I would like to have, but as soon as we finally got Ignite going, it was one of the first names down on that paper. And it didn't take long from starting Ignite to him already to blowing up all over the country and traveling the world, because he's just that good. And so anytime we can get him back at Ignite, he will be back, because it's just, you know, I just can't say enough good things about him alongside Danny Black as well, who's
Yeah.
someone that I've been working with since back in the Clash days. And again, someone I've had, you know, my eye on for a long, long time, even when I was still an active wrestler. And to see what he's now doing around the world, in the States, across Europe, in Japan is incredible. Lacey, obviously, as you said, with True, killing it out in Japan as well. So, you know, you couldn't have two better people to go into this match. And like you said, for Corey, having just come back off of over a year out and being the longest reigning Ignite champion in history, he is very much going to want to prove himself. He kind of left with that, as I mentioned earlier, with that doubt, maybe knocked his confidence a little bit like that. But he's been away, done a bit of soul searching. I think he knows what he wants now from wrestling. You know, hopefully that is to be at Ignite. If he goes on to bigger and better things at some point, then more power to him. You know, that's what we do want from the people who are on our shows ultimately. And yeah, for him, it's going to be about proving himself to himself. I think that he can hang with these two, proving himself to the Ignite fans that he's back and he wants to be going for the championship again and have that back around his waist, and proving himself to all the promotions around the country that, you know what, these two who are tearing it up in Japan, across Europe, and in the States, and obviously are Rev Pro regulars now, you know, and work in, you know, pretty much every promotion in the country. I'm as good as these two. I can hang with these two. I'm on their level. And I'm sure that's what will be going through his mind. And so there'll be a lot of kind of one-upmanship in this match, I think, from all of them, and it's going to make for a hell of a triple threat. I think we've got a history of like some incredible multi-mans at Ignite over the years. And going back to 2022, I believe it was, we had a four-way, which was Tommy Kyle, Corey McRae, Danny Black, and Joe Lando. And still that sticks in my mind. Still people talk about that. It's still one of the best matches we've had. It was absolutely incredible. And then, as we mentioned, Corey and Tommy and Aluna last year absolutely tore it up in the triple threat. We had the main event of the first buckle up with Mills and Smashing Mike, and Corey in that one as well. Incredible. And I'm sure, and then obviously, as you mentioned earlier, we had Aluna and Harris and Bennett and Shane Hook on the last one. So we've got a real history, I think, of some incredible multi-mans. Didn't even mention CPF, JJ Gal, and True at the back end of last year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There are some incredible matches that this will, I'm sure, live up to and be, you know, go right in alongside all of those classics.
It will do. It's going to be an amazing match. Trying to pick a match of the night is going to be very difficult on the paper, and we will obviously see what happens Sunday. And again, who knows? Maybe a surprise will happen. Now, I was torn between what match to leave till last, but there's one in particular that I think deserves the last, to be discussed last. So it brings me down to the Ignite Championship match now. Tommy Kyle, Joe Kessler. I mean, Tommy Kyle has taken on the who's who of Brit Rest since winning that championship, and he has beaten the who's who. I mean, Tate Mayfair's in the last one, Spike Trevay, the one before that,
Connor Mills before that,
as well. Connor Mills before that. I mean, you know,
even before that, you could Gene Money in with the with triple threat to win the title as well. You know, these are the biggest names on the scene right now. Literally, Gene Money, Connor Mills, Tate Mayfair's, Spike Trevay, you know, and it's like, and it leads us to this.
Which does lead us to this. Now, initially, I hadn't really, when you said about Joe Kessler, I hadn't heard much about him. I think he was out injured for quite a bit of time. So I hadn't. So another one that's kind of returning from injury. I had spoken to North Wrestling that know him very, very well and spoke very highly of him as well. So he's going to pose Tommy a very interesting challenge really this coming Sunday. I don't know a lot about Joe Kessler's style, so I can't proclaim to say what type of match he's going to give Tommy. But but I know you, and you wouldn't have gone from someone like a Tate Mayfair or a Spike Trevay, which tore the house down, to something that's not going to tear the house down with Tommy Kyle in it this coming Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is very much on the level of all of the names we've just mentioned. I think the difference is with Joe is that he works primarily in the Midlands and the North, and that changes things a little bit. There's, you know, there is a bit of a kind of, you know, South bias in this country to a degree with a lot of the wrestlers. Obviously, you've got Rev Pro. Rev Pro now is all over the country, but it was primarily a kind of London and Portsmouth, Southampton area based promotion. Progress being London based as well. And I think there can be a bias towards the talents who work for those two promotions, and they until recently were primarily in the south, right? So I think that does change things. But Joe's been around for a good long time. I was working shows with him back in 2018 and 2019, and I was incredibly impressed with him then, watching him with the likes of like Luke Jacobs and Ethan Allen, who were all coming through at the same time. And I would categorize all of them as good as each other, right?
Mm.
And Joe is someone who I've been a big fan of for a long time, wanted to bring in to Ignite previously, have had his name down multiple times, but obviously with the injury, that changed things slightly. And then also just trying to find the right opportunity to bring him in and show him off to, a more London-based fan base. Obviously, he's since worked for Purpose, which is obviously in London. We announced him first, actually, but obviously that show was before our show. So it's great to see him down here and and get his name out a bit further down the south of the country. But the thing is with Tommy and this match is he came to me and he said, look, I'm champion now and I want to prove myself to everyone watching, all the eyeballs on Ignite and all the eyeballs on me, that I am not just the best in this promotion, but the best in the country. So I want the best in the country to come in and challenge for this title. And if I can hold on to it, then I believe I've proven myself as the best. I think that's fair enough. And I believe we owe that to the absolute Maverick after what he's kind of put into Ignite since day one. So I tried to find the best in the country. And with Joe, as I said, we've looked around the Midlands and the North a little bit more instead of a bit further south. And he's coming in, and it's going to be another huge challenge for Tommy Kyle. Potentially, because it's a very different style to Tate Mayfair's and even to Spike, certainly a different style to Gene and Connor. Probably the closest style would be more to Spikes, but still very different. It's going to be potentially the toughest challenge I think he's had yet, just because of the style that Kessler will work in there with him. And it will be great to see the kind of reaction that our fans have to him coming in for his debut, and probably haven't seen that much of him. So yeah.
And to be fair, they may have to get used to seeing some of him if he's going to be successful.
Exactly that. Could be looking at the next Ignite champion, could be with us for the rest of the year after that. I mean, regardless of whether he wins or loses in this, he'll be back. But he'll be back because I'm just a big fan of his work.
Indeed. And unlike my champion, at least your champion wants to wrestle the best in the country.
Well, yeah, at least he turns up. At least he's happy to be there, and he wants to kind of prove himself to the Ignite fans instead of, big shot in it in Japan and not turning up to shows. But
and not wanting to wrestle in multi-person matches or anything where he's championship reigning. When his title chances are slim, and he still manages to fight.
He still won. Like moaning about it, came out on top on both of them. If he'd lost them, I understand. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. They're just both, both him and Lacey. Look, rate them as wrestlers 10 out of 10. As human beings, I don't know. Certainly, in the low 2s and 1s at best.
At best, if they're lucky with a trailing wind on a good day. Yeah. Right. I mean, I feel this needs to be the main event or the last match we talk about. There is such a history with these two.
Yep.
It's kind of Taylor. Well, I don't really say that Taylor's last ghost. I mean, if you look at what he's done, literally, I think the only defeat in the last year or so was against that man, Jack Torino, former Rebellion members. Taylor turned on him. That's where we saw Tom for the first time. Every time Jack's tried, even in their match, Tom was getting involved, although Jack did pick up the victory. He was injured in there as well. He's been away. He's another one, took time away. He had to heal up, Taylor threw out, which maybe it was quite interesting though, because Taylor threw out the first challenge to Jack recently on social media. I feel as if Taylor needs to get the victory because he's got that title shot. We don't even know if he's going to cash that in on Sunday. Yep. It could well do, which may change this match. I don't know position on the card. This may well change this match, for example. I don't know. But it feels to me like Taylor wants to get this match or beat Jack big time anyway, just to banish that last defeat off. But on top of that, Jack said he would happily take the match, but he didn't want this to be an ordinary one-on-one match, and subsequently challenged him to a last man standing match. Now, I'm assuming we've got medics and everybody there Sunday because these two. I'm glad, in a way, I'm kind of glad that this is a last man standing. I don't think the ring's going to be able to contain them. But we've also got to be very careful about this because this is going to be quite a serious match with two people who legitimately hate each other.
Yeah, yeah, you nailed it right at the end there. These two legitimately do not get on for a shoe, which is part of the reason why it's I think taking us so long to get this one in the ring. There's a lot of real life animosity there between the two, and as much as they hate each other and want to tear lumps out of each other, I think they also don't really want to be in the same room together. So, but I think ultimately it was Taylor's goading of Jack that really, pushed him to want to come back, to want to prove himself, and to want to finish this story. I mean, look, as you've pointed out, they both want to finish this story. This is the thing. Taylor's held that briefcase since last July, but this story started all the way back in actually November of 2023. So you want to go all the way back to when they lost the tag match to CPF at the end of 2023. Taylor was blaming Jack for the loss of momentum of the rebellion, the fact that potentially he's holding him back. And as we saw at the start of last year, decided to turn on him. Tom came out. They put an absolute beating on Jack with some kendo sticks. And as you said, it was the first time we've seen Tom Mercer. And from there, they had their first match. And Jack managed to just get out of that one with the victory. And that is the last time that the current briefcase holder lost a match. And since then, he went on to, eliminate Jack from the gauntlet to win the briefcase. And has been on a hell of a run since then, winning every single match he's had since winning that briefcase. The thing is, people are still saying to him, yeah, but you lost to Jack. Yeah, but you lost to Jack. Yeah, but what about Jack? And that's really got inside his head. He wants to cash that briefcase in. He wants to be champion. And I think the reason he hasn't done it yet is because he wants to make sure that he banishes Jack's name from everyone's lips before he does it, because he knows full well that people are thinking it and people are saying it to him. Well, you lost to Jack. You lost to Jack. You haven't beaten Jack yet. And so I don't think he will feel like he can cash that in and move on until he defeats Jack. And as we saw, he called him out on social media and he said he's sick to death of hearing people still talk about him when he's the briefcase holder. And that's what people should be talking about. And yeah, Jack went away for a little bit after losing that match, the gauntlet match. He had a few injuries to get through. I think like with Corey, did a bit of soul searching and he's ready to come back. And he's ready to shut Taylor up. And I think he's ready to prove that actually, no, you know what? I want to be back at Ignite. I want to be back full-time at Ignite. I'm as good as Taylor. I'm as good as the briefcase holder. And you're not just going to banish me from the record books. And you're not just going to use me as a stepping stone to then cash in and be champion. And there's that real life hatred there. Jack was the best man at his wedding. They were a tag team for a long time, held every tag title in the country. And Taylor threw that all in his face. The friendship, the tag, all the years of tagging, all the championships they've won, everything that Jack's done for him, that hurt. I think that hurt, and he's turning that into revenge, anger, whatever you want to call that. And these two will finish it in the ring on Sunday. No rules, last man standing. Essentially, this is an unsanctioned match, and yeah, we just, I just hope that it isn't too violent. I hope that these two both do actually manage to walk out eventually of the ring and carry on their careers after this one. Because this could be one of those matches that could be a career ender for either guy, really. So yeah, I guess we'll see if they come out of this in one piece after Sunday, and who ultimately goes on to bigger and better things at Ignite.
We will see on Sunday, that's for sure. And I'm kind of and I'm not looking forward to this particular match.
No, exactly, and that's what I mean. Like, it's going to be brutal. We know it's going to be brutal. They hate each other, but I'd hate to see a career ended, is what I'm saying. But yeah,
we'll see. We'll see on Sunday. That's for sure. But now, look, you've already mentioned tickets are we're sold out, but there is going to be a limited few available on the door Sunday.
Yeah, very limited amount. So we've sold out all of our allocation. Spoken to 96. We're gonna. They've got a few extra chairs that we're hoping to squeeze in at the back somewhere. It's going to be very limited. We won't know until we get to the venue on Sunday how many we can squeeze in. So what I'm saying is first come, first serve. We've had a few people call up the venue and a few people message the page asking about is there tickets available. I can't say how many there will be. All I can say is just get there for as soon as doors open, if not before, and we will squeeze in as many extra people as we can. Also, what I would say is, buy early for these shows. We've sold out, 3 or 4 of the last couple of years. It's not a one-off. And there's tickets for July already on sale. So if you want to be there at July or at any of the future shows, just try and jump in and get them as early as possible. Because A, you get the best possible seat in the house, and B, you won't miss out if we do sell out. So yeah,
Indeed, and you kind of hit it nicely because July, shorter catch up time, I suppose, between these
yeah,
two than February. July, everyone reaches a breaking point in
yeah.
July.
July 13th will be Breaking Point. So that's our follow up to this one. And yeah, I'm sure we'll have some big things planned for that one. And then after that, we've got September and November, and there may well be an announcement on Sunday about September show, which could be a big one, I think.
Well, I'm going to make a few calls to make sure. Those of you that know Buckle Up, obviously, that the trilogy is happening in September. What you don't know is someone that's, well, should we say, provisionally signed for the show. The song I Get By with a little help from my friends, as could come into play. But look, I think we'll give Skip. I think we should. I think we should give the fans the name of the person on Sunday, and I think we should leave that up to the wonderful Sunset Skip to do it. I don't think there's anyone better. You don't want my dulcet tones announcing it. I don't. I feel as if it's Skip's moment to shine on Sunday, so we'll give him the privilege of announcing. But it's a very exciting name, and all I will say is he's an international flavour to buckle up this year,
Hmm. Big
which
one,
is
big one.
big
We've had some
one.
big names at the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, thanks to Hitting the Turnbuckle, thanks to the partnership. And this one is the biggest of them all, I think. Yeah.
It will be. Yeah, it will be. We'll be bringing along some big names, that's for sure. We'll announce that, as I say, we'll give Skip the honour of doing the big one on Sunday, and the rest will follow suit. But as we say, look, there is strictly limited tickets for Sunday. So get to the door as quickly as you can before they open, before they open or whenever. Just get there because we can only put a few more out, and then they will be gone. So then you will miss what is going to be. Well, we say buckle up. Buckle up. It's a stack show. It's buckle up esque, isn't it? If you look at it on
It's on
paper.
that. I mean, it is it might not have some of the as many huge names,
Mm,
global and around the country.
yeah.
But in terms of stakes and what's riding on all the matches in this, I think it's probably our biggest show to date. There are, 2 title matches, one huge last man standing match, grudge matches, huge returns, and then obviously, the breakout division is, an absolute passion of mine. So and that has its own stakes riding to get into the final. So every single match on this card has some, real stakes to it, something riding on it. And I don't think we've ever had a show where all 6 matches have that before. So
No, I agree. It's going to be a hell of a show. So if you can get there early, get those last seats. If you can't get there, our Breaking Point tickets are already on sale and they are already selling, by the way. So you don't want to get into the same situation that you was in this time. Go onto 96 Eventbrite. You can type in Ignite Wrestling. You'll see Breaking Point. You'll actually see somebody who's coming back to
yeah,
Ignite on the poster. Well, I won't mention the name, but you'll see it, and you'll see it on Sunday for sure. But CJ, I'm going to see you on Sunday. for the first
Yeah, for
time.
the first time in 3 months. Been a long time. We only have one period in the year where there's a 3 month gap, and this has been it. Feels like very long. All the others are only 2 months apart, so it won't be quite as long. But yeah, I'll see you on Sunday. I'll see all the fans on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly, me too. So, like we said, I'll see Chris Sunday. I will see you guys on Sunday for the last stand. And until then, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.